In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 events that changed the world. So before starting, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. History is full with fascinating and important events, yet certain historical events have changed the world more than others. There were several pivotal occasions in history that have pinballed the planet into choosing a different route. Whether it was a flash of a second, a rising revolution, or a single person who stepped up to take a stance, these flashes impacted the direction that civilization continued on. They were turning points that would change our world and impact our lives irrevocably, whether for better or ill. Here are the top 10 events that changed the world. So let's start. Number 10. The assassination of Archduke F. Ferdinand and outbreak of World War I, June 28, 1914. Europe was a hotbed of tension and military competition in 1914. Many events could have sparked a war, but the killing of an Austrian Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, by a Serb sparked widespread declarations of war and the implementation of treaties, resulting in the horrific conflict of the First World War. The battle was expected to endure 4 years and claim the lives of millions of men and women from all around the globe. The First World War ushered in a period of significant social change. Following the First World War, there was a greater appreciation for women's contributions to society, with several countries granting women the right to vote. There was also a larger focus on the role of the working class, which had fought and died in the war and now wished for a more peaceful future. A global flu pandemic struck in 1918-19, killing about 50 million people, many of them young adults. But due to the carnage of the First World War, it had only a limited impact on reshaping the world, as many governments downplayed its significance. Number 9. Russian Revolution 1917. There had been periodic communist revolutions in European countries since the publication of Marx's Communist Manifesto, but none had truly succeeded. The Bolshevik Revolution, led by Lenin, brought in a radical new type of government with global ramifications in October 1917. Lenin was a devout Marxist who wasted no time in enacting his notion of a proletariat dictatorship. The world was split by Communist Russia. Some saw it as an alternative to capitalism's injustices, while others saw it as a symbol of dictatorship and lack of freedom. The Soviet Union changed Russian people's lives by bringing economic progress while also increasing political persecution. The Soviet Union's ideology also resulted in a protracted Cold War, characterized by an ideological division between Western democracy and Soviet communism. Number 8. Treaty of Versailles 1919. Following the First World Conflict, American President Woodrow Wilson advocated for the establishment of an aspirational 14-point plan, as well as the formation of a new League of Nations to aid in the prevention of war. The United States Senate, on the other hand, decided against joining the League of Nations, and France and Britain demanded reparations from Germany and the vanquished states, respectively. From the early 1920s to the mid-1920s, Germany was occupied by French forces, and the German army was seriously weakened. Many German army officers regarded these limits as humiliating, and Hitler would use this sense of betrayal to his advantage in the following years. According to French General Ferdinand Foch, "This is not a state of peace. For the next 20 years, there is an armistice." Treaties like the Treaty of Versailles and others like it arbitrarily redrew the geography of the world, resulting in the creation of new countries such as Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia out of ethnically mixed populations that would prove difficult for many years to come. Only 20 years later, Hitler would drive the continent into conflict for a second time in an attempt to reclaim lost national honor and glory. Number 7. Stock market crash 1929. The stock market on Wall Street saw a severe decline in October 1929, following the extended period of economic and stock market expansion that had occurred during the 1920s. This resulted in a sustained decline in the stock market and the beginning of the global Great Depression. The unemployment rate in the United States increased to 25%, while output and commerce fell around the world. The widespread poverty and alienation that many felt led to the rise of political extremism around the world in recent years. Japan and Germany both resorted to far-right nationalist movements, which resulted in military expansionism and the outbreak of World War II in both countries. In the United States, the Great Depression resulted in the election of Franklin D. Roosevelt and a significant increase in the size of the federal government, as citizens desired the government to assist in the Depression's resolution. Number 6. German invasion of Poland 1939. Poland was invaded by Hitler's Nazi Germany on September 1, 1939, ostensibly for the purpose of providing Lebensraum and correcting the imbalances created by the Treaty of Versailles. As a result of Hitler's invasion of a sovereign nation, the Allies, Great Britain and France, were ultimately convinced of Hitler's larger plans for the takeover of Europe. After appeasing Hitler over Austria and Czechoslovakia, Poland proved to be the final straw, and on September 3, 1939, the United Kingdom declared war on the Nazi regime in Europe. The Second World War would run until May 1945, and it would claim the lives of about 50 million people worldwide. It is less commonly known that, as a result of a secret Nazi-Soviet agreement, the Soviet Union occupied areas of Poland at the same time as Germany invaded the country. Number 5. Battle of Britain, June to September 1940. When Hitler's German army seized all of Western Europe in 1941, it appeared that it would be unstoppable. A watershed point in world history occurred in May 1940, when the British government debated whether to seek a settlement with Hitler or to continue fighting. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was certain that the country should never surrender and refused to consider signing a treaty. Beginning in June 1940, the German Air Force began attacking British airbases in preparation for an invasion. Despite the fact that the number of combatants was minimal, the German Air Force sustained enough losses to put a stop to the invasion plan, and Hitler withdrew his troops from the area of imminent assault. Number 4. Operation Barbarossa 1941. In a devastating attack on the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, Nazi Germany launched a devastating offensive. The Soviet Union and Nazi Germany had struck a non-aggression pact in 1939, and Stalin had been taken by surprise. At first, the invasion was successful, and it came within striking distance of Moscow at the end of 1941. The invasion drew the Soviet Union into the worldwide conflict and was a watershed moment in the history of Germany, which was forced to fight on two fronts for the first time in its history. During the most intense fighting of the Second World War, millions of people died, both soldiers and civilians. During the war, the Soviet Union was transformed, becoming a major power with a purpose to liberate Eastern Europe before Stalin decided to establish communist regimes in Eastern Europe at the end of the conflict. Number 3. Pearl Harbor 1941. At the beginning of World War II, the Axis powers controlled most of Europe and parts of Asia. Even though Great Britain remained undefeated, it lacked the strength to triumph against a massively superior adversary. The attack on Pearl Harbor resulted in the expansion of the World War into the Pacific theater, as well as the entry of the United States into a war with both Japan and Germany. American troops were responsible for the vast majority of the manpower involved in liberating occupied Europe 3 years after the invasion. Number 2. Atomic bomb Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were devastated by the atomic bombs dropped by the United States in 1945. The Japanese surrendered as a result of the destruction, bringing an end to a long and costly Pacific conflict. Japan's capitulation was once considered inconceivable. The atomic bomb, on the other hand, hastened Japan's surrender. The atomic bomb had far-reaching consequences that went beyond the conclusion of World War II. It demonstrated to the rest of the world the destruction that a Third World War could bring. Even today, Hiroshima's legacy and the prospect of nuclear war loom large over the world. Number 1. Indian Independence 1947, the 15th of August 1947. India had long been regarded as the British Empire's crown jewel. It was the world's second most populous country. After refusing Indian demands for freedom for many years, Britain eventually agreed to full independence in 1947. With India's independence came a terrible split and the formation of a new nation, Pakistan. The division resulted in brutal sectarian warfare and killings, as well as the movement of millions of individuals who found themselves on the wrong side of the line. India's freedom also gave birth to a newly sovereign nation that claimed no allegiance to either the United States or the Soviet Union, but rather to a third way, as Nehru put it. India has the potential to become a new superpower in the 21st century if its economy develops. What do you think of our list? Which thing do you like from above list? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, Be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.